Animal diversity video, Plathyhelminthes. If one takes a look at the phylogenetic tree of the kingdom Animalia and then moves towards the section of bilateral symmetry, thereafter follows a red line towards no body cavity, you come across the Plathyhelminthes. Classification of Taenia Solium. Taenia Solium is part of the kingdom Animalia, the class Cestoda, the order Cyclophilidae, the family Taenidae, and the genus Taenia. It is part of the phylum Plathyhelminthes. Symmetry and cephalization. The bilateral symmetry is present within this organism. This means that if one were to cut it down the middle, from head to tail, each half would be the same. Cephalization is considered a result of evolution and is when the nervous system becomes concentrated on one end of the organism. Despite being the simplest animals with bilateral symmetry, the organisms in discussion today have a high degree of cephalization, embryo tissue layers. As you can see in the diagram, there are three tissue layers present: the ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm, thus making the organism triploblastic, right on top. Openings in the gut. The majority of flatworms or Plathyhelminthes have a single opening in the gut, the mouth, which means that they have a blind gut. Food is taken in through the mouth and undigested waste products ejected through the mouth too. Taenia Solium tapeworm and other tapeworm species have lost their gut. Usually they live within the intestines, which are filled with plenty of food supply, and thus they are able to directly absorb food through the surface of their bodies via the process of diffusion. Coelom and blood systems. Flatworms are generally considered as acoelomates, which means that they lack a coelom or body cavity. Thus, they lack respiratory and circulatory or blood system. As with the nutrient, oxygen enters the organism from its host surroundings via diffusion. The relationship between the body plan of the organism and its mode of living. The Taenia Solium has a generally flat structure which allows it to live in the smallest of spaces such as the intestines, but still reach up to 20 meters in length. Adult tapeworm's body structure typically consists of a scolex, a neck, and a strobila made of proglottids. As you can see, this is a labeled diagram of the tapeworm. We will be getting into more specific detail. The scolex, which is the head, remains attached to the intestine of the host. It is no bigger than a pin, yet it works as the holdfast of the parasite. The neck of a tapeworm is a well-defined, short, narrow, and unsegmented region where the proglottids are formed. The strobila is made up of segments called proglottida. There are three types of proglottida. Immature proglottids, just behind the neck. Thereafter you get the mature proglottids, which occupy the middle part. All species of tapeworms are hermaphroditic, which means that they contain both male and female sex organs in the same individual. Thus, a mature proglottid is a complete reproductive unit. Lastly, you have the gravid proglottida, which occur in the end of the strobila. These proglottids consist of the uterus packed with fertilized eggs at different stages of development. The purpose of this vast reproductive system that we see is to ensure that when passed on to the next organism, some of the eggs hatch into tapeworms. Role in the ecosystem. There is no organism that deliberately feeds on the Taenia Solium, but anyone who ingests undercooked pork runs the risk of ingesting eggs, which will thereafter develop into the organism. Its sole function is being a parasite. An infection with this parasite is called cystic curcosis. The effects on the pig are negligible, but in humans the following symptoms are seen: nausea, weakness, diarrhea, abdominal pain, hunger or loss of appetite, fatigue, weight loss, vitamin and mineral deficiencies. Segments of the worm may appear in the stool, and occasionally the Taenia Solium get so big that they block the intestines and end up in other organs, which can have fatal results. They often end up in the brain, which can cause fatal infections. Some interesting information on the topic. Measures can be taken to prevent the infection by simply cooking your pork properly or not eating pork. However, one still runs the risk of being infected by Taenia saginata from cows or other species of tapeworm. One could also use a type of medication called Plathyhelminthes in order to kill the worm. Recent medical developments have indicated a potential use of tapeworms to help with Crohn's disease, although one runs the risk of tapeworm migrating to other bodily parts with fatal results.